come to me with scars on your wrist. You tell me this will be the last night.
Before the video begins, there may be spoilers. Just watch out. In 2014, to start off the TWE year, two wrestlers debuted in the first ever match majority of everybody knows. Rage and Scream, two wrestlers who had a big feud. However, the feud was not very noticeable, and only lasted a bit of 2015, and only one time in 2017, surprisingly. We will be going over what happened normally. Then, we will be going over what would happen if the feud were more noticeable. Like said multiple times, both wrestlers appeared in the first match, with Rage being the first winner. Fast forward a bit, and Scream returns, interrupting Angelo's cash-in while Scream and Rage saw each other once again, since the first match they had. Then, in a triple threat match, it was the first match in a while that Rage and Scream had together. Although it was not a one-on-one, it was still a match that they competed in together, with Angelo being the third person in the triple threat. And finally, they had a one-on-one standoff at the Royal Rumble, where Scream became the ultimate winner. One of the only things Scream is most noticeable for in TWE. Onwards to 2017, the last ever match Rage and Scream had together was at TWE Mania 1, where Rage won and defended his title against Scream, which was the World Heavyweight Championship. Despite that, both had an unhappy ending. Scream faced the Masked Warrior to try and win the belt, which was the Intercontinental Championship at the time. But because the Masked Warrior was such a top-tier wrestler at the time, the Masked Warrior ended up beating Scream for his last match. Meanwhile, with Rage, he sadly had to retire. This was the end of two legendary wrestlers who made TWE. While most might argue that Nick or Angelo made TWE, these were the first two wrestlers to ever have a match. Although, what would happen if things changed? Let's go over if it were more noticeable, and Rage and Scream were more noticeable in TWE. In the first triple threat between Rage versus Nick versus Angelo, Nick would most likely be replaced by Scream, as Scream would have been more known. However, with Nick, we wouldn't know what would happen with him. All we would know is this is more focused on Rage, and of course, Scream. Instead of Rage facing Angelo, speaking of Angelo, for the United States Championship, it would be Scream, since it's a championship match. Rage and Scream is only faced, just in a normal match. This would make it more interesting. Despite the feud going on, the feud between Nick and Angelo would also stay strong as it already was. So, while Rage vs. Scream is going on, Nick and Angelo would have their feud of their own, and they wouldn't be forgotten. During the time, Cardoso was introduced, so this would make triple threat matches more interesting between Rage and Scream, if possible. Because there would be an odd number of wrestlers, there would have to be more triple threat matches, most likely so we don't leave one out. Because the feud would be so known, obviously, normal matchups like Scream vs. Angelo would be good to happen too, or Rage vs. Nick. We have to give the other wrestlers chances, of course, and not just always focus on this feud. Before going on to 2017, I would like to note that the match with Nick vs. Rage in 2015 might have changed. only because Nick and Rage had a strong feud in the original storyline, but with the storyline changed, just the match would have probably been a little bit different. As for 2016, 2016 would most likely stay the same, as Rage would have eventually won the Royal Rumble 2, and of course, gotten the World Heavyweight Championship. Okay, so going on to 2017 now, after their match at TWE Mania 1, the feud would still be intact. However, it would be way different, as there would be more triple threats between the two, and possibly even TLC matches. In one-on-ones, Rage and Scream would probably be interrupting each other as certain matches would be, which would be a part of their feud, of course. Although 2018 would be a mystery, they would have their last match at, of course, TWE Mania 2. But that remains a secret. And that, everyone, is what would happen if the Rage vs. Scream feud were more alive. A very underrated and most forgotten feud of TWE history. So, in the end, both wrestlers had a somewhat underrated feud, which led to them having bad endings in their careers. However, we did go over more interesting aspects of Rage and Scream if they were more known in the business during their feud, from more matches to interruptions to anything of that sort. It's very sad to see both wrestlers flop in the business, but the future for both of them awaits us. We will never know if Rage or Scream will ever make an appearance against each other again, the ones who started TWE as a whole. So, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you liked the video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. This has been UtT, signing out. Peace.